Now, the problem with most budget projectors is not always the picture. Sometimes the picture actually is fine once the lights are off. The problem is everything around it. The menus feel clunky, the apps are hit and miss, Netflix might not work properly, so you end up plugging in a streaming stick anyway. And suddenly the simple big screen setup you wanted has turned into cables, extra remotes, and a bit of a faff. And that's why this one caught my attention. This is the Aurzen EAZZE D1R. It's actually the UK's first Roku TV smart projector. Instead of trying to be the brightest or most cinematic projector out there, it's trying to solve the bit that usually annoys people first: the software. So this actually has Roku TV built directly into it, which means proper streaming apps, a familiar interface, and no need to instantly reach for a Fire Stick, Roku stick, laptop, or random TV box just to make it useful. It is a compact native 1080p projector with autofocus, auto keystone, built-in speakers, AirPlay, Bluetooth, and that full Roku TV experience built all directly into it. And with the FIFA World Cup 2026 campaign coming up, this is exactly the sort of projector people might look at for big screen football on a budget. But I guess the big question is whether the convenience is enough to make up for the usual budget projector compromises, especially brightness, fan noise, speaker quality, and placement. But I think the best place to start is by unboxing it. As you can imagine, with an affordable projector like this, unboxing is pretty simple. Inside the box, you only get the projector itself, the power cable, the Roku style remote, and your basic manual. It is not packed full of accessories, but with this type of projector and price point, that is to be expected. The main point is that the streaming system is already inside the projector, so you don't really need any separate stuff. Now, first impressions, it is a nice and compact size. It's not tiny like one of those pocket projectors, but it is still light enough to move around quite easily. It weighs around 1.4 kilograms, so you aren't going to struggle taking it from room to room, or maybe using it as a portable option overall. Design-wise, it is clean and simple. It does not look especially premium, but it also doesn't look cheap. It obviously reflects a budget projector, but it has been made to be simple and approachable for the average consumer, and I really do think that's the main aim here. Setup is actually one of the strongest parts of this projector. You plug it in, turn it on, and connect to Wi-Fi. The autofocus and auto keystone also makes a massive difference. Autofocus means you can point it at a wall and it sharpens the image by itself. And then the auto keystone means it tries to straighten that picture if the projector is slightly off center or sitting at an angle. And for casual use, this is exactly what you want. Nobody really wants to spend ages adjusting focus and fighting with a wonky rectangle every time they move a projector. Now, it's not perfect every single time. Sometimes I still wanted to tweak things manually, especially if the projector was at a bit of an awkward angle, but generally it gets you close enough very quickly, and that is the point. Now, once you're in and you sign into your Roku account, you are basically ready to go. If you have used a Roku TV or Roku streaming stick before, the interface will feel instantly familiar. The Roku TV integration is easily the biggest reason to consider this projector, and I think it gives the D1R a real advantage over a lot of cheaper options. With many budget projectors, you technically get smart features, but the actual experience is not great. Apps can be missing, the Netflix experience is bad, menus can feel slow, and sometimes you end up using a separate streaming stick anyway. Here, the Roku interface seems to be built in quite well. I will say it is simple, familiar, and very easy to navigate. You get the usual app tiles, access to major streaming apps, Roku channels, search, settings, and all the basics you would expect. It is not trying to be complicated, and that is a good thing here. For the UK, having apps like BBC iPlayer available is obviously very important. And with the World Cup on now, the appeal is fairly obvious. That said, there is no Freeview tuner inside this, so it's not exactly the same as a normal TV with an aerial and channel guide, but live TV now all comes through streaming sites anyway. And for a lot of people, that will work out quite well. But just do keep in mind, this is a streaming projector first. Now let's talk about picture quality. This is a native 1080p Full HD projector, not 4K though. And at this price, I think a lot of people will be fine with that. I would rather have a proper honest 1080p image than silly marketing that tries to make a cheap projector sound like something it is not. In a dark room, the picture is genuinely pretty good for the money. It is sharp enough for films, YouTube, sport, and general streaming overall. Faces look clear, text is readable, and the image is very much better than some other budget options I've actually used in the past. Colours are decent as well. They aren't rich or cinematic in the way you would get from more expensive options, but they are perfectly watchable. For casual movie nights, kids watching Disney, YouTube, Netflix, or football, it does the job well. The main limitation is obviously the brightness. This is rated at 280 ANSI lumens, and that means you really need a dark room. With the lights off and curtains closed, it can look genuinely nice. But with the daylight coming in, or if you flick the lights on in the room, the image starts to wash out quite quickly. This is probably the thing buyers should understand. The lumen rating is SGS certified with no exaggerated brightness specifications. It is purely for evenings, darker rooms, bedrooms, and outdoor use once it's actually dark. But if you are okay with that, I would say to you, in a dark room, the image from this for the price is really good. Now, sound quality is actually better than I expected, but it still has its limits. You have got dual 5-watt speakers with Dolby audio, and for built-in speakers, they are pretty usable. Dialogue comes through clearly, volume is decent in a bedroom or smaller living room, and for casual watching, you can absolutely use this projector without immediately connecting external speakers. I guess that is important because the whole point of this product is convenience. If you had to connect a soundbar up every single time, it would lose some of that easy plug-and-play appeal. But these are still small built-in speakers. There is not much bass, big action scenes don't have that proper impact, and for football or movie nights with a few people around, an external speaker will be the cheapest way to make this experience more cinematic. And thankfully you do have a few options. You can connect up audio through Bluetooth 5.2, the 3.5mm output, or HDMI ARC if you're using a soundbar or compatible audio setup. So you do have a few options there, but honestly, for your basic viewing needs, the onboard sound is not too bad. Take a listen for yourself. Now you do have a few ways you can use this. As I've said earlier, it is a streaming device first. However, you do have HDMI, and with that it could be useful for plugging in a laptop or games console. Now obviously gaming is where I would be careful though. For casual games, slower games, or kids playing something simple, it's going to be just fine. But obviously for fast shooters, racing games, or anything where input lag really matters, it might not be the best option. It is clearly built for streaming first. Gaming is more of a bonus if you like. Having said that though, if you are just casually gaming like FIFA with friends, it is a cheap way to get that big screen experience. Now all in all, I think the Aurzen EAZZE D1R Roku TV Smart Projector is a solid little budget option as long as you buy it for the right reasons. Its biggest strength is not raw image performance, it is convenience. Roku TV Built In makes the whole thing feel much more polished than a lot of cheap options out there. You get all the proper apps, a familiar interface, simple navigation, and you don't need separate streaming sticks. specs. The 1080p picture is genuinely decent in a dark room. Autofocus and auto keystone makes setup quick, and the built-in speakers are fine for casual viewing. But obviously the limits are clear. It needs darkness, it is not built for serious gaming, and if you want a proper home cinema projector, I'd obviously look at something else. But if you want an affordable, easy Roku-powered projector for film, streaming, and occasional big screen football nights, I do think the D1R makes a lot of sense. It is not perfect, but it does make big screen viewing feel simple.